Let me ask you something uncomfortable. What if I told you that your greatest enemy isn't the world, your boss, or even that bad luck everyone complains about? It's your own mind. That's right. Most people don't realize this, but Carl Jung discovered that self-sabotage isn't just a minor character flaw. It's a silent, stubborn force, hiding in the shadows of our personality, quietly shaping our failures and frustrations. And the more you try to ignore it, the more it grows like a secret monster under your bed. Sounds harsh, maybe, but here's the twist that few will admit. Facing your shadow, the hidden, rejected parts of who you are, can unlock a power most people never tap into. Instead of fighting yourself, you can actually turn those sabotaging impulses into your secret allies, and you don't have to spend years on a therapist's couch to start seeing results. Ready for a perspective that will shake your self-image and actually give you practical tools to flip the script? Carl Jung's teachings aren't just philosophical fluff. They offer a roadmap for transforming that inner sabotage into self-mastery, clarity, and a kind of freedom most never imagine. So if you're tired of tripping over the same invisible obstacles, let's dig in. Because once you see what's really going on inside, everything changes. Carl Jung often pointed out that the mind is like a cunning trickster, capable of playing games even when our intentions are crystal clear. Imagine, for a second, someone setting a goal to start waking up early or adopting a healthier routine, maybe even you. Suddenly, fatigue, procrastination, or a mysterious lack of motivation appears out of nowhere, pulling you back to square one. That's not just bad luck or Monday syndrome. It's your own mind quietly working against you. And Carl Jung called this the shadow, a bundle of thoughts, feelings, and desires we've pushed out of sight because we think they're unacceptable. Now, here's where it gets both tricky and fascinating. The shadow, according to Carl Jung, isn't just some vague idea or poetic metaphor. It's very real, and it's working behind the scenes, orchestrating little sabotages. Think of all those moments when you had a plan, but something inside you whispered, maybe later, or is it really worth it? That's the shadow flexing its muscles, showing how powerful the unconscious can be. The parts of yourself you try to ignore don't just disappear, they regroup in the background and can end up steering the ship without you even realizing. Let's get practical for a second. Take someone who wants to improve their career. Every time a big opportunity comes up, they feel a sudden urge to wait or start doubting their abilities. Carl Jung would say this is a classic shadow move. Repressed fears or beliefs from the past are now working in the dark, causing that self-sabotage. To spot this in your own life, ask yourself, when have you felt unexplainable resistance towards something you know you want? Recognizing this is the first step, and trust me, the journey gets even more intriguing as we dig deeper into how to actually work with this shadow instead of fighting it. Carl Jung didn't mince words when he warned that simply ignoring or repressing the shadow only makes things worse. Imagine if every time you felt an uncomfortable emotion, jealousy, anger, insecurity, you just shoved it deep down, hoping it would vanish. Spoiler, it won't. Instead, those parts become like stubborn weeds in a garden. They keep growing, popping up in new places, often at the worst times. Jung believed these aspects actually develop their own agendas, sometimes acting out in ways that catch us completely off guard. Now, here's the real game changer. Jung said the solution isn't to fight or exile these pieces of ourselves, but to integrate them. Picture it as inviting an unruly guest to the dinner table. You don't have to love everything they say, but you acknowledge they're part of your life. This means bringing unconscious motives and feelings into the light, naming them, and seeing how they fit into your personal story. For example, if you catch yourself sabotaging your relationships, it's worth asking, what am I really afraid of? What need is hiding in that shadow? This kind of honest self-questioning is the beginning of real transformation. The process might sound intimidating, but it's less about grand gestures and more about gentle, daily awareness. Carl Jung often encouraged journaling, therapy, or simply honest conversations with a trusted friend. The goal isn't perfection, it's wholeness. When you recognize these shadow parts as yours, they lose much of their power to control you. Instead of a constant battle inside your mind, there's a truce, maybe even a newfound sense of curiosity about your own inner world. And once you start this integration, you'll be surprised at the hidden resources waiting for you beneath the surface. Let's make this real with a story that Carl Jung himself would appreciate. Imagine a man determined to live independently, someone who claims he craves solitude and freedom. He moves to a new city, starts a fresh job, and promises himself he'll build a life on his own terms. But just when things are falling into place, he starts canceling plans, missing deadlines, or finding reasons not to follow through. The pattern repeats, and he feels stuck. What's going on? According to Jung, this isn't just bad luck or poor planning, it's the shadow at work. Driven by hidden needs for connection and acceptance, he's tried to deny. This kind of self-sabotage isn't rare. In fact, it's almost universal. People might say they want financial independence, but keep overspending. Or they long for healthy relationships, but always pick unavailable partners. Jung's insight is that our unconscious minds, our shadow scan, act like sneaky saboteurs, contradicting our most sincere plans. That's why, no matter how clear our conscious goals are, there's often a hidden part of us pulling in the opposite direction. How can you spot this in your own life? Start by tracking those moments when your actions don't match your intentions. Are there goals you keep setting but never quite reach? Patterns that repeat even when you know better? Carl Jung would suggest that these are prime clues, pointing toward your shadow, those repressed motives quietly undermining your progress. It's not about blaming yourself. It's about getting curious. And once you begin noticing, you're already halfway to regaining control. But to truly break the cycle, we need to understand the deeper forces at play, which leads us right to the heart of Jung's next big insight. Carl Jung introduced the idea that we're all a bit like puppets on strings, except the strings are the unconscious complexes hidden in our shadow. These aren't just minor quirks. They're powerful clusters of emotion, memory, and belief that can hijack our behavior in an instant. Imagine wanting to stay calm during a tough conversation, but suddenly you're overwhelmed with anger or anxiety that seems to come from nowhere. That's not just a bad mood. It's likely an old complex taking the wheel. Jungian analysts, like Dr. Murray Stein, emphasize that these complexes can make us act in ways that baffle even ourselves. Recognizing the grip of these complexes is a major step forward. Ever had a moment where you reacted way out of proportion to a simple trigger? Maybe a partner's offhand comment stings far more than it should, or a work setback leaves you spinning for days. Jung would say you're bumping into one of these autonomous complexes, stored away in the shadow, but still very much alive. And here's the twist: trying to suppress them only gives them more power. The true way forward is to bring them into consciousness, to understand their origins and how they're playing out in your daily life. So, how does one start the journey of integration? Carl Jung advocated for methods like active imagination, therapy, or even creative expression, painting, music, or journaling as ways to meet your shadow parts. The goal isn't to get rid of them, but to dialogue with them, learning what they need and how they can become allies instead of saboteurs. Dr. Murray Stein adds that this process doesn't just remove obstacles, it unlocks genuine personal growth and a deeper sense of freedom. When you face these inner forces directly, you reclaim conscious choice and step into a new level of self-mastery. But remember, this isn't an overnight process. Every step you take uncovers more, leading to an even richer understanding of who you are. So, after everything you've learned from Carl Jung about self-sabotage, let me ask you, are you really willing to keep letting the invisible forces inside you call the shots? Or are you ready to turn and face your own shadow, reclaiming control over your choices and your destiny? Imagine what could happen if you finally stopped tripping over the same hidden patterns and instead made them work for you. What goals have you been putting off because of quiet self-doubt or unconscious fears? What would change in your relationships, your career, your happiness if you started integrating all the parts of yourself? It's time to get real. Are you brave enough to look in the mirror and see the sides of yourself you usually ignore? Are you curious enough to dig deeper and bold enough to break old habits? Start today. Journal about your shadow moments. Talk honestly with someone you trust, or simply pay attention the next time you feel resistance inside. Every little step adds up, and each one moves you closer to freedom and self-mastery. But remember, only those who act change. Are you ready to act? If this message resonated with you, don't just leave it here. Drop a comment below. The biggest way you notice self-sabotage in your life. How are you planning to integrate your shadow starting now? And of course, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to keep learning, growing, and mastering the incredible power of your own mind. Let's break through together.